Welcome everyone to our preseason edition of Inside Center Court Baseball. It's getting to be that fun time of the year. Super Bowl is over, and unfortunately, our guest favorite team knocked off the Eagles in the Super Bowl. We're here with Dave Gallagher, the senior advisor to Center Court, longtime major leaguer, longtime pro, longtime representative, great representative of the game. And unfortunately, the Chiefs kind of got that one at the end. But well,
I didn't think that was unfortunate at all.
Yeah, well, you're right, I guess, from your perspective. But we are happy to bring you on here today. Certainly, the exciting time of year. It's got to be that time of year for you where the blood gets flowing a little bit, because for so many years it was spring training. But this period now, end of February to kind of late March, sort of preseason, leading into the season. Still a key time of improvement. What are some thoughts that you have that, why we should be excited right now?
Yeah, I am excited. And strangely enough, after all those years of feeling anxiety this time of the year, like we spoke a little earlier, and I always worried about, is somebody outworking me? Has somebody improved and moved past me? So I no longer have to do that, right? I no longer have to earn my way onto a roster. So there's a little bit of relief there, but I'm excited for the kids. Actually looking outside right now and the sun is out, and it makes me feel like, okay, spring really is right around the corner. Knock on wood, we didn't get any snow.
Yeah,
not in South Jersey. I don't know if you guys got any dustings or whatever, but
let's hope that doesn't mean early March, but we'll hope hope we're past it.
Yeah, we've been hit like that before. You're right. But I mean, to think about all of the youth players right now, all the competitors that are out there, any level that you are, if you're a beginner, if you're somewhere intermediate, or if you're an advanced player, there's always room for improvement of your game. One of the things that we had discussed as a staff months ago, and we've since implemented, was making sure that all of the athletes that come through Center Court, whether they're Mako's players or they're just organizations and teams or individuals coming in and training, was to make sure that they had an evaluation, whether it was many were sent evaluations by email. Others were directly spoken to about their weaknesses or their strengths. That's important to know, and it's important to work on. So depending on what age you are, you may have about 6-7 weeks before your first game where you're actually on the field for a game that matters. For high school, let's talk a little bit about that. They have tryouts that come up that are pretty important to find out what roster they play on before they lead into the season where everything matters. So I would encourage everybody not to back off now and wait for your team and your season to get started. Now is the time to make sure you make the right phone calls to whoever you're training with, the organization. I hope it's a Center Court organization that's close. We have in North Jersey and Central Jersey. But I hope you reach out and say, can I get some work in on my weaknesses, and try to get yourself prepared. Mike, if you think about what's just happening right now, you have spring trainings that are just beginning. I can tell you, having done 19 of them, minor league and major league included, that when you go, it's not like 50 years ago where you're just showing up to get ready for, the season to get started and you're relaxed. This is competition. These games get started and you're working on your weaknesses. There's early work that happens 6-7 o'clock in the morning. Then you practice as a group. Then you have your games after lunch at 1 o'clock. And then there'll be post game work that'll be done. So that's what the kids need to know, is it's not just shut down and wait for your season to start. Try to figure out what your weaknesses are. If you don't know, ask somebody who is in the know. You have trainers in these facilities at Center Court that can help you, and then set something up to work on it.
Why, everybody wants to, and it makes sense. They want to get into game mode right now because it's, games are coming, right? So as we get into game mode, as we get into competing against the other team and all that, why is it still important to also stay in practice mode? We'll talk about some of the great offerings at Center Court, obviously this time of year, sort of in between seasons, but then also important, running during the spring too? Why is it important from your experiences that Center Court keeps offering these programs in season? And then from a player's perspective, why is it important to take advantage of and sign up for those programs?
Well, I think of the words like tune up, right? To me, that makes a ton of sense. Whether it's your car is running fantastic but you still take it in every 6 months, 3 months, whatever, and you get it tuned up, right? I look at athletes as being very similar. Something you're playing well, you want to keep that going. You want to keep that rhythm going. So maybe you go in and get some hitting done, or you get some fielding work in to maintain that. It was something that I had to learn on a professional level about strength. When I finally understood that, wow, there's a lot of good players out there. I got to get physically stronger, something that people told me. I just would work hard in the off season. And then when the season started, I was tired at the end of the day and I wouldn't do anything. And at the end of the season, I would fade. So I realized you got to keep working throughout the season just to maintain. So to your point, I think it's really important to get this work in now, leading up to the season. I would highly recommend putting most of your time into your weaknesses, but don't neglect your strengths. You still want to maintain that. And then when the season started, I've done this for years, and I would have players come to me if they were struggling. I'd get a phone call and they'd be willing to miss school, just to get their swing right.
I miss school out loud.
Yeah. And I think that's a mistake, not so much to miss school. I think the mistake is that you're coming to me only when you're struggling to try to right the ship. How many at-bats did you give up before you decided that it was a struggle? So also there would be players who I thought was smarter, that they just simply maintained. So if they were doing well, they attributed the performance and the consistency to the fact that they were maintaining. Doesn't have to be 3 lessons in a week, just a tune-up session to go over things. And you can also discuss with whoever you're working with how that week has gone. What were your at-bats like? How have you been fielding the ball? If your weakness has been around the bag at second on double plays with footwork, but you've worked on it, have a discussion with that. It's all about improving your game. If you have enough passion and will and work ethic to get better.
And it's really irrelevant to what your status is. You could be a 12-year-old or 13-year-old in middle school, or moving up to the big field. You could be a JV player wanting to get to the varsity team. You could be a guy who's already committed to a college, right? Or a college player. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse, right? Because there's always somebody gaining on you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was another part of our discussion. You and I talk a lot, and that was something that motivated me, was always knowing what my goals were, where I was setting the bar, but also that I was being chased constantly. I mean, all I had to do is look around the locker room when I'd show up in the morning at spring training, and I would see young guys younger than me spitting in their glove, rubbing that spit in. They want my job. So that was motivation enough to try to get better, to continue to get better, and push. And that is under your control. Sometimes most times your results are not under your control. Your preparation is, and your work ethic is. So no, this is not just, hey, they're just trying to sell lessons to us. Not that at all. I have no reason or need to do that at this point in my life. This is legitimate. If this is something that you want to reach your peak in, and Mike, your point is a great one. Reaching your point. I'm never going to make it into the Hall of Fame. I would have known by now, but I do feel that I reached my Hall of Fame. Whatever I could do, I left it on the field. I got the most I could get out of myself. I feel confident in saying that. And it was easy for me to look around and say, wow, just like fans do, there's more talent around me. So I'm going to get the most out of myself. So I love your point about, if you're a mediocre player, there is so much in your self-esteem and your self-confidence just to be able to contribute. How do you contribute to a team's success? You improve. But it also works conversely. If you're not contributing, that can be such a downer for an individual. his self-esteem, his self-confidence. So now we know that if you can someday make a high school varsity team, the camaraderie, the friendships, the social stance that you have just walking around school, it's pretty cool. And I wish that for everybody.
Want to take a few minutes to just highlight some of the great stuff that we've seen at the different facilities. And while we're doing that, we'll make sure that we have information on the training programs available in the spring session, a link to where they can go to sign up for those programs. But when you look at North Jersey, some of the great things in Morristown and Gillette, and some Mount Olive programming going on now as we grow the center court family in North Jersey. But between Lou Clemente and Coach Dave Steinman, some of the great stuff that they're doing for people. What do you see up north, and how do you see that being valuable?
I'm just glad that we're spread out, and I like the fact that we're growing kind of organically. We're not rushing it. And I've said this from the beginning. It's now been almost a year and a half, I guess, that I've been a senior advisor for Center Court. But I've watched the Makos grow organically, not just, okay, we have a lot of mouths to feed, we have a lot of money that has to be made, so let's just hire anybody who comes in and asks to be a coach. I like the fact that there's no pressure coming from above. And that makes it work. You have the ability to actually sit down and interview coaches. I've always been high on this staff, and the quality of the instructors it's just growing. And that brings in more and more people talk. I've seen a lot of the videos of the training that Dave Steinman does, and it's outstanding. And I've been around Lou, I've been around Eddie and Jimmy Mayer and Michael Rogers. These are guys that you can trust to have not only the knowledge to teach you, but also to have the integrity of telling you the truth. None of these guys is going to lie to you to get a check. They're going to tell you where your son stands. And then you can play the role of a parent. If it's me, I'm going to ask my son, is this something that you want to do? You seem to be falling behind. I notice you're not practicing. I don't know if I'm going to do this. As a parent, I don't know if I would just keep pushing my son in that direction. Now, if he's limited with his talent, but he wants to practice and he wants to improve, I'm going to support that. So that's important, that not only you get the training from the proper training from the right type of trainers and instructors, coaches, but you also are getting along the way, your son's climb, you're getting honest evaluations so that you have your best chance of being the best that you can be.
Bringing in Coach Steinman, bringing in Dave Steinman in North Jersey is a great segue to our buddy Miles Taylor coming over to work at Marlboro. Some of the great stuff he's been doing already with the young pitchers over there. Miles, obviously important to me as he's manages one of my two summer collegiate teams and can certainly speak to the great stuff he does. But what have you seen over at Marlboro with the development over there, and why that's a great deal for young players?
First of all, I think with Miles that we want to shout out from the highest points that he is a collegiate coach, and he's as you said, Mike, he's coaching one of the summer league teams that you're the GM for. I think that's huge. To have kids, eventually kids, as our kids grow older, we have older players in our Lawrence facility. As they go off to college, they're going to be looking for a competitive place to play in the summer. And specifically after that freshman year, it's hard to get placed. College coaches are always going to take care in order of the kids who are higher classes. So it's hard to get good quality summer jobs for players. And you have two opportunities from your standpoint in two locations. I love the fact that Miles does that. And I was on a call with Miles and Eddie from Marlboro to talk to a team. And I kind of was quiet and listened until the end. I said my 2 cents, but I loved the way Miles handled the call, the professionalism of how he spoke to the parents. That's what I see throughout the organization. Integrity and professionalism and knowledge. Everybody throughout the entire organization. So, The other thing is I just spent Friday and Saturday in Marlboro, and I saw kids who I hadn't seen since tryouts. And they jumped leaps and bounds. And I went up to Eddie Mejia and I said, Eddie, you've done a great job. You and your staff have done a great job with these kids. They are, I don't know if they even realize, or their parents, that they've made a huge jump in just, a couple of months. But that's the work that the staff puts in. And he had a smile on his face, and he deserved to have that smile because I know that takes a lot of time and passion, and he cares. So yeah, I'm really happy to be part of this.
Yep, and certainly Lawrence, the facility, the ninth wonder of the world, the crazy facility over there, and the great use that it gets. And certainly one of the, between Mike Rogers and John and Johnny Reyna with the senior Makos and a lot of the team trainings and Coach Jim Mayer running the show, certainly incredible things over there. Let's just focus a couple seconds on the Sandlot program that's continuing through the spring, and some of the great stuff that you've seen obviously over at Lawrence.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea, the Sandlot, because it's designed to, for some of the kids, it's their first real experience of any kind of organized baseball. And I don't think you ever want a young player to walk away from an experience like that and dislike the game of baseball, because he may be gone from the game. You want it to, the reaction to be almost sneaking in the learning, having a lot of fun and sneaking in the teaching of the game, because there's plenty of time going forward where it can get a little more serious, and it will. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, how serious it'll get. But yeah, that's a great program, and it's taken off. It just keeps growing. So I think word of mouth is spreading, and more and more people register for that. So look into that if you're, again, within my voice and you're not involved. And that staff, for a second, I've known Michael and Jimmy for a long time. About, again, a year and a half ago when I joined the CenterCourt Makos, I met John and Johnny, and they are the right people. Their passion for the game, what their core beliefs are, and how players, parents, and coaches should behave and act and handle themselves in competition, in a win or a loss. It's everything that I believe in too. So, and I see Johnny on the floor. He's extremely passionate about teaching. And I can tell, he has never told me this, but I can tell he's done his research and continues to update his knowledge based on, because it changes. It changes, right? The game changes. And you have to have enough information in your own head to make a decision of what I'm looking at. Is this an advancement or is this going backwards? And then either apply it to your training for the kids that you currently have, or shove it out the door, right? And he does great with it.
We say that for the players, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse, but it's the same for the coaches.
Yeah, there's so much information, right? There's a lot on social media, and you have to sift through it. But I think that comes down to, and I would encourage the players themselves, over time, you should know your own body, your swing, your pitching. I'm not a pitching guy, but you should know it better than anybody in the universe, because you make the final decision of what you're going to take on and what you're going to discard. And either way, it should always be with respect. The person that's training you or talking to you or trying to coach you is doing it because they care about you. So I would say this is all adds into a player that cares enough and is passionate enough about themselves as an athlete. And it's provided at every one of these facilities. CenterCourt Makos definitely provide the opportunities.
Absolutely. As always, our time goes too fast. But as we said at the beginning, it's a fun time of the year. We hope we get to see the players here continue to develop, to use this time wisely, to get involved and maintain and grow as players, and take advantage of what some of the offerings that are out there this spring and beyond. Thanks as always, Dave.
Absolutely. I'll leave with this, because I know a lot of guys on our staff are Eagles fans. Yes, that was holding.
Yeah. Sounds like we got another 20 minutes to talk about.
I know you're going to cut that out.
Thanks
Go
as always,
Chiefs.
Dave Gallagher, our guest today, talking about some of the great things going on, and we look forward to catching everybody out at center court.
Take care, guys.